Hi, this is Runa, and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools, and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello there, darling listeners of the Changemakers podcast. It's Runa here with a guest coming from all the way from Denver, Colorado. And I'm thinking at the moment I'm saying that, should that be with a special accent or not? Well, doesn't matter. All the others, they have accent. I don't. That's a joke, in case you didn't know. Anyway, my guest, Grace Estripenaut. Oh, God, it's such a beautiful name. And her title, I'm telling you, as a personal branding nerd, I love her title. She is a mental detox expert and a peace of mind specialist. I'm telling you, don't you just already just feel really relaxed and calm and at ease just listening to that, who she is? Well, I'm really excited to learn from Grace today. She says that she's a self-proclaimed hyperactive Latina. And she's a granddaughter of two Italians turned Zen masters. So we're digging into a DNA of Zen, beauty, mind, peace of mind, and mental detox. Grace, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. No one's ever welcomed me quite like that. This is so interesting already.
I just think, oh gosh, it's just that, speaking of the feeling that a brand gives us, your brand really just takes me to a space of, no, I just want to be in that zone, and I want to learn from Grace, and I want to see, where am I? How can I do things better? And how can I move myself with Grace to the spot that is my sweet spot. So, Grace, I know that you're a granddaughter of the Italians turned Zen masters, but tell me, how did you go into this beautiful, calm, peaceful zone yourself?
Yeah, so what it is I'm actually a granddaughter of Italians. They're not Zen masters.
Okay.
Like I turned myself into a Zen master. So, essentially, I was born and raised in Central America, in Panama. And, every maybe, a story or a joke you've ever heard of Central Americans or Latin Americans, that they're loud, that they're noisy, that they use their honk on the car a lot, that they interrupt each other. It's all true. It's all true. It's so chaotic down there. And, I was a child, one of three, being raised in a very, in terms of our senses and in terms of sound and audio, very chaotic and very dynamically passionate people. That's how I can say it these days. They're just passionate down there. So, the truth is, the reason I talk about this is because a lot of people, when I talk to them now about, find some silence, find some calm, find your practice, the number one thing that comes back is, I tried it, I can't sit still. I tried it, I can't, my mind is too busy. And I use my story to really share, listen, if I, with that background, can find my way, so can you. And so I share my story with them as an inspiration, as like, listen, I'm the granddaughter of Italian grandparents. They're loud and noisy. And then my family is chaotic. I had a parrot that used to like scream after the goal in soccer games. Like, it was not like I was born to calm, collective, conscious. No. And so what really got me into it is, the truth is, growing up and in my early 20s, I would say I had probably a period of about 11 years of a period where I kept moving countries. There were very difficult circumstances that were happening in my family life and in just the environment I was in, where, I'm sure your listeners and you all probably also have been through at least one or two times in your life where you feel like the rug gets pulled from under you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it is tough. It's the kind of situation where no matter what your character is, you don't have much control over what's going on around you. And those are the moments that kind of break you or make you, correct? And the truth is, looking back, I can connect the dots. I had about 11 years straight of that for different circumstances. Some of it was what was happening in the country I lived, some of it was happening in my family, you name it. And the truth is, I was practicing resilience without even knowing it growing up. And at some point in my mid-20s, I recognized, I can't count on the world bringing me peace. I can't count on my environment bringing me peace. And I started to find a very deep drive to find that space inside myself. And that's how I found my way to, okay, so what are my practices? What do I try? And I tried a bunch of different things until I found the ones that were like, yep, this is a fit for me.
This is what I call really knowing your X factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really. And tapping into who you really are and understanding that everything that you've gone through in your life has a meaning and has a purpose, and you can, what you've done, you've turned those 11 challenging years into something that you can basically share to others and help, a helping hand. Yeah. You work a lot with women.
Yes.
And can you tell me, why did you choose that path to help women, particularly to find their zone?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, but I think it comes down to two primary ones. So when I started my company, I mostly was going into corporations, Fortune 500s and smaller organizations, and doing a ton of workshops and trainings related to resilience, stress management, mindfulness, mostly tools, how to. Everybody, I would say, at least in this part of the world that I move in and I do the trainings, there's a basic understanding. Yeah, being reactive is not the best. Finding your focus is good. Being even keeled at work would be a great idea. But we're missing the skills. That's the truth. Those skills were not taught in school, nor in college and all of that. So I would go into corporations mostly to do skill building around this. And over and over and over, when I would find, there was like 15% of the people who would show up were men and the rest were women. Over and over and over. And I would think, okay, is my message, just my energy, just more attractive to women per se even? And so I tried to tweak some of that. And the truth is, no matter what I did, the percentage didn't change much. Sometimes I have 25% of the room being men, but it's never bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I think it is an aspect, I think the energy and the way I show up and present is just more attractive or nurturing to women. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with, I spend a lot of time talking about responsibility and tools to actually be emotionally sane. How to deal with the energy of your emotions. And at least in this part of the world where I'm at right now, that's not something men are really actively searching for, I would think.
They're probably Googling because they want to know. And they're afraid that if they show that they are interested, they are leaving a box that they might be judged.
Definitely some of that. But yeah, I think over the years, I just realized, okay, this message, the way I speak conveys something to women. And I also was raised by a very non-traditional mom who was, in a way, for Latin America, very feminist and very much, you can have what you want, you can be who you want, go for it. But to do so, you have to basically throw away a lot of expectations. So I have that in my DNA quite a bit. And I think that the way I speak conveys that. And women are desperate for that. And so it wasn't a conscious choice that I went, okay, I'm only going to work with women. It just happened to show up that way.
Yeah.
And I realized that just the way I spoke was just like a magnet for women saying, I need to stop should this, should that, self-will, all the worry and all. And I was like a magnet to like, enough is enough. You're here, you have one life. What are you going to do with it? And to do so, we have to clear the mind, clear the emotions, just clear the noise. And then women were just very attracted to that. So that's why I've chosen, at some point you just focus in on the people who are also really ready for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the process has gone.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And isn't it interesting, Grace, when what I'm hearing you say with shutting down that noise in your head of I should do this, I should do that, which are so often so unclear, our perception. I'm not good enough if I'm not this, or I have to be in this box or that box to be accepted, when really what you need to do is to get that space to be in your own zen, and which is then what you are helping them to do. It's beautiful, so beautiful. So can you share with us, how do you, if you're, I'm a mom and I'm a woman, so to turn down my volume of all the noise and make space for the things that I want in my world. I'm just not going to be selfish here and ask my question. Tell me, what will be the first thing or two that I should do? And
I love our audience, because this is the life of everyone, right? Whether you're a mom or not, everybody has a very full plate in life these days. So there's two main things I would say. One is to be aware and conscious of the amount of information and stimuli that you allow in your life. There are so many things that have become autopilot in our life. Like, for example, people walk into the house, they turn on the TV, and the TV is blaring in the back while you go about business, while you go about making dinner and having your kids do homework. Like, there's the radio or the TV in the background. Same when you're driving. There's just noise coming at you. And we've become pretty accustomed to, most people don't even recognize it as noise. It feels like, well, that, I just can't be in silence. And I would challenge that and say, pick 1 hour of the day, and turn the TV off, turn the radio off, turn whatever the thing off, and actually come back to being. And if 1 hour feels like too much to start with 15 minutes. But whatever it is, like, start to create space in your life. This is an aspect of detox to your senses. We need room to just, how am I feeling? What's going on today? How come I'm in a bad mood? What's going on? Just to be with ourselves. And the truth is, we're completely oversaturated. There's way more data coming in than we have space to process. And, I always talk about this as if, imagine that we're a glass of water every day. And for most of us, we're full to the brim every day by 9 a.m. So if any little droplet comes in, we're in overflow. Right? So turning down the radio, turning down TV, turning down whatever the excess stimuli is, those are just some examples. Create some space in that glass of water so that when life throws you some curveballs, which it will, your kid is sick, you have to change your schedule, whatever the curveball is, you have room to respond and not react and be in overflow. So that's definitely one. And it sounds so simple, but you wouldn't believe the amount of people who never turn off anything. There's always something playing. And then the other thing is, the brain, there's a big misconception that in meditation, the mind is supposed to stop. That's not going to happen. The purpose of your heart is to beat and to pump blood in and out. The purpose of this thing that we call the mind is to process data, process information, reach conclusions, create some labels. That's how we function in the world. It won't stop doing that because we meditate. But what does happen is there's a certain level of excitement and reactivity that we're in, that when we meditate or where we self-care, it does calm down. We de-excite this like machine that's always in override. So calm down the stimuli in your life, and also find a time where you help your mind get de-excited. That could be meditation, that could be more sleep, or one of my favorite practices is find 7 minutes in your day, not 15 or 20, 7, and sit down and just free flow form writing.
Oh yeah.
Just like oh, okay, and I don't have time to shop today, and da 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 da, and this and that, and oh yeah, and then that phone call, I didn't like that guy. Just let it flow, because the truth is, otherwise, it's just accumulating and accumulating
You're
and
just emptying out.
exactly. So that's my shortest version to a mental detox. I basically teach this in every workshop. I put one piece of paper, which is just to empty out everything and anything. It doesn't even matter if it's significant. And the other piece of paper is actually a running list of things you have to remember, just like to-dos. So you want to split those up, because you're going to get rid of the running list. It's just going to go straight to the trash. I mean, the mental detox is going to go straight to the trash. And then the running list is more like, oh, now I have a clear space of, and actually it's usually like 3 or 4 things you have to remember. But it seems so confusing because the mind is so full.
Yeah. And like my mentoring coach, Marcia Martin, says all the time, there are only 2 things in this world that you need to know, and they're space and things in space. In order to change, you have to have space for it to exist in. And simple things. When you talk, Grace, it sounds like you're creating some sort of a balance. But is that possible? Is balance a myth?
Yes. And the reason it's a myth is because balance implies 50-50%. You know, it implies this perfect, like if our life was a pie, it implies perfect compartments between things. And the truth is, you know, one, it sets us up for failure. There is no such thing as like exactly 50% with your children and exactly 50% of your energy to work, and exactly, it's just not realistic. The Western modernized life that we have, we spend more time working than we spend practically doing anything else. So it's almost like we have to throw that perfect, you know, pie away. However, I am a big advocate for identifying 2 or 3 things per period of your life. Like in this moment of your life, what are the 2 or 3 things, not 15, 2 or 3 things that you absolutely know are worth your full attention and energy?
Yeah.
And then, so, you know, there's a lot of time management practices.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of how do you manage your energy, because truly, you're not going to get more time. No matter what kind of magician, manifestor you are, you're not going to produce more time. But if you manage your energy and you're intentional about, at this time in my life, let's say this year, what are my top 3 priorities?
Yeah.
And then manage your time and energy within those priorities. And so then you're not so worried about this perfect balance thing. Because, for example, if you're starting a business, well, that's going to take most of that pie. That's just the truth. What you don't want to do is completely ignore the rest of your life, but you have to find some peace with the fact that in the first couple of years of a startup, that takes most of the pie. If you're going to be a mom to a newborn, that takes most of the pie. So, you know, I think you take away the struggle and the suffering if you just forget about this perfect 50-50. And because if you're a mom of twins and you're in the first year of being a mom of twins and you're trying to have this perfect balance, you're all day feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
And that's just unfair. You have a huge role and job if you're a mom of a newborn. If you're a mom, period. But if, you know, in the beginning years, the need is so high. And the same if you're starting a company or whatever big goal that you've set out, it just needs more energy in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I like to talk about that because I feel like women, men as well, but women, I hear it very often, they beat themselves up and they struggle a lot by making themselves wrong for not having it balanced. And listen, I love the movie Wonder Woman. She's beautiful and sexy and, you know, conquers the world and has a huge heart and la 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 la, but it's a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like let's she's wonderful and I loved her, but it's a movie.
It sounds to me when you know you're in touch with your energy and you're in touch with who you really are, and you find the flow that fits you.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you need that space that you talked about.
Yes. And to give yourself permission to say, okay, it's year 2018 right now. My 3 focuses or max 4 are this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So these other things don't have to be center in the pie. It's okay.
It's okay.
That's where we can remove so much of this. I should this and I should that and I should. It's like, a lot of people talk about boundaries. My version of boundaries is, what's your focus?
Yeah.
If you're clear on your focus, and you're clear on your focus because you have enough internal clarity and you calm down the noise, then the rest of the stuff shouldn't bother you as much. This shouldn't be this, but I should also be doing this, and it should be. No, I'm really clear. Right now I'm doing this, and this.
Yeah. Grace, you seem to have a really good knowledge into how, well, you are a mental detox expert, so I'm not surprised. And you are a peace of mind specialist, so I'm definitely not surprised. But I'm curious to know, what are the changes that you want to be in this world?
You mean the change that I want to inspire?
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's ever asked me this question. I love this. Thank you. I mean, if I want to leave one legacy, I want it to be that people know that they can tap into answers within themselves, and that most of the answers that are really significant in life, that really will be fulfilling and meaningful and lead to the life that they really dream of, are actually inside.
That's beautiful. Grace, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for being our guest at the Changemakers podcast. And to our audience, please go to runamagnus.com/podcast to find more out about what Grace is doing and how you can access her services and her page and know more about her, where she is on the social media, etc., etc. Thank you
for having
Grace.
me. It's been a pleasure.
Was this podcast of value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember that you can always go to runamagnus.com to find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you drive the change you want to see in your world.